breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by good friend of ours, Jake Hasan. He does such excellent work over at Better Day with our good friend Kobe Marcio. He does a great job with his Substack, taking a look at professional and college baseball. We're going to chat with him about some of his takeaways from the trade deadline, the winners and losers of it, and then we're going to dive in on what we've got on this great slate for Wednesday. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, LRCM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We did have a fun day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Athletics manage a upchuck defeat from the jaws of victory, 5-4. The Reds are able to get the job done here for the A's, and a nice 3-0 lead in this one. They were leading going into the 8th inning, and then the bullpen happened. JT Ginn, 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, you had Brady Basso give you a scoreless inning. Hogan Harris, anything but a hero. 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Elvis Alvarado was in the building for an out of the bullpen scoreless, but too little too late there, and Brady Singer had the Athletics singing the blues. Gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. Sam Mull, Julian Garcia, Emilio Pagan. They're all able to give you a scoreless inning. Yankees continue to not put up runs, but they find a way to win. 2-0 the final for the Cardinals. Absolutely nothing doing here. Jordan Walker was out of this game, and Runner Dobbins, 2 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. Both were solo home runs as, Jazz Chisholm get jazzy with it. 17th home run of the campaign. George Lombard Jr., his first career home run. Congratulations to him. And then for Caleb Ferguson, he was able to give you 5 outs out the bullpen scoreless, but Ryan Weathers, he weathers the storm. 6 shutout innings. Fernando Cruz was able to give you a pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless. Brian Hedrick, 4 outs out the bullpen scoreless, and David Bennar, he does not poop the Bennar. He was able to get the final 4 outs of the game to be able to cash this one. For the Boston Red Sox, they continue to be the hottest team in all of baseball, have been since June 1st, and they get a 4-2 win over the Chicago White Sox. For the White Sox, Davis Martin, 9 runs allowed in 5 innings, gives up 3 home runs, and then Eric Fetty gets whopped, 5 runs, 4 of which weren't given up in 3 innings, as Jaron Duran, he gets his 15th home run season, Weiler Bray wiles out his 18th and 19th home runs of the season, and Caleb Durbin, his 11th home run season. Patrick Sandoval, 2 runs allowed in 5 innings, more than enough in this one. Greg Weiser, Derek Miller combined for a shutout inning, and then you had Brian Bayo be able to supply the final 3 innings scoreless. For the Philadelphia Phillies, they shut down the Washington Nationals, 5-0 the final. No James Wood in this one, and that was a big problem for the Nationals, who had Carson Palmquist as the opener, only get 1 out. He gives up a run along the way. Zach Littell, 4 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Trevor Williams, a scoreless inning, and Jesus Luzardo was tremendous. 8 shutout innings. Caleb Killian from there, a scoreless inning, and here's something we haven't been able to say very often. The Mets get a win, 6-2. They take down the Cleveland Guardians. Joey Cantillo, 5 runs, 2 of which were earned in 5 innings. Slade Ciccone from there gives up 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. Tim Aaron, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Sean Manaea, good start, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Dan Duarte, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. You had Kodai Senga give you a scoreless inning, and 4 outs for Nate Lavender. I believe that was his MLB debut, so congratulations to him. Gave up no runs along the way. The Atlanta Braves, they get the job done 4-2 over the Miami Marlins as Ryan Gusto, to taking a rough loss. He gave up a 1 run in 6 innings. That 1 run, a solo home run to Ozzie, Albies, 19th home run season. Austin Riley later on off of John King, his 13th home run season. King was the king of giving up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in his inning of work. Victor Vodnik, a inning out of the bullpen, he gives up a run. Grant Holmes, though, was great. 6 shutout innings. Dylan Dodd, Dylan Lee, Dylan Squared, both give you a scoreless inning. Raciel Iglesias does give up 2 runs in his inning of work, but by then the damage had been done. Being able to do a lot of damage. How about the Tampa Bay Rays? 9-7 in extra innings. They take down the Colorado Rockies. Now, for the Rays, they got up in this game by a count of 5-1. They relinquish that lead, but they get 2 in the 9th of 4 extra innings, as you had Gabriel Hughes give up 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings, including home run to newly acquired Liam Hicks, 15th home run season. From there, Brandon Bernardino, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Juan Mejia, a scoreless inning. Parker Mushinski, he was able to give you a scoreless inning as well, but Jordan Romano tried to close this game out. 2 runs allowed in an inning. Shock, surprise, surprise. Jimmy Hargett from there, he gives a scoreless inning, and Nick Frazo in his MLB debut, he gives up 2 runs, one of which was earned in the 11th. Freddie Peralta just continues to get destroyed, by the way. 7 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings, including a pair of bombs. Willie Castro, 13th home run season. Mickey Moniak, his 19th. From there, 7 1/3 innings scoreless from the Rays at elevation, as Cam Boozer 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Casey Lugumina, 2 shutout innings. Steven Matz, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Kevin Kelly, a scoreless inning. And then Garrett Clevenger, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Brian Baker, scoreless 11th inning to be able to get that save and being able to save the day. The Milwaukee Brewers, 4-2. They take down the Pittsburgh Pirates as Jared Jones, 3 runs allowed in 4 innings, gives up home runs to Andrew Vaughn, 5th home run season. Jackson Chourio, his 14th. From there, Wilbur Dotel gives up a run in 2 innings of work. Juan Ramirez, Kirby Yates, both give you a scoreless inning, and Logan Anderson continues to be great. Gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. Now, both were solo home runs. Andy Rodriguez, 6th home run in the campaign. Jacob Gonzalez, his 5th. But from there, Antonio Senzatella, the newly acquired, Abner Uribe, and Trevor McGill, they're all able to complete scoreless innings. For the Toronto Blue Jays, their miserable season continues. They lose to the Astros by a count of 7-2. For Trey Savage, he only lasts 2 innings in this one, taken out due to injury after 27 pitches. From there, 6 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings by Chad Dallas. For Dallas, he gives up a home run to Taylor Trammell, 6th home run of the campaign. Braden Fisher, scoreless inning, and then you had a Brandon Little give up a run in an inning. Mason Flaherty, scoreless inning, and Aiden Wozzeski, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Bennett Sosa, a scoreless inning, and Aniel De Los Santos, he will come in, and he supplied 2 shutout innings. The debut of Tariq Skubal for the LA Dodgers results in a loss, 5-1. The Cubs are able to get the job done here. Skubal, not bad, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Was taken deep by Dancy Swanson, 7th home run season, but not a lot doing for the Dodgers at the plate. Javier Assad gives up a solo home run in 5 1/3 innings to Kyle Tucker, 10th home run season. From there, Ryan Rolson, a scoreless inning. Tyler Ferguson, and out of the bullpen scoreless. Ryan Zephyrian, Jacob Webb, they both lend a scoreless inning, and Alex Vesia gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Edvin Phillips was able to give you not out of the bullpen scoreless. Edwin Diaz gives up a solo home run in 2/3 of an inning of work as Nico Horner gets his 7th home run season. Jack Dreyer and out of the bullpen scoreless, but too little too late out there. For the Kansas City Royals, too little too late for them to make a playoff push, but they're now 500 at home. 8-2, they take down the Minnesota Twins. Joe Ryan, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Cody Funderburk, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Travis Adams, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Taylor Rogers, he gives you an out of the bullpen. He gives up a run, and then for the Royals, you had Randy Dobnak continue to be great. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. Only 1 strikeout, but hey, you'll take it. Daniel Lynch, John Schreiber, they both give you a scoreless inning. Steven Cruz gives up a solo home run in his inning work to Josh Bell, 14th home run season. Nate Pearson from there, a scoreless inning. So, yay verily for the Royals. Yay verily for the Detroit Tigers. 8-0. They take down the Seattle Mariners as Troy Mullen had the Seattle Mariners mulling away. 7 shutout innings. Jacob Aguirre's pack, 8 scoreless inning, and then you had a scoreless inning from Ilber Diaz for the Seattle Mariners. Emerson Hancock, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 6 innings as he gives up a home run in this one to one Mr. Riley Green, 16th home run season. And then Sir Anthony Dominguez does what he does best. Gives up a pair of home runs. Gleyber Torres, 7th home run season. Dylan Dingler, his 24th as Dominguez, 4 runs allowed in 1/3 of an inning in his Seattle Mariners debut. Michael Rucker was able to give you a scoreless inning. Cole Wilcox, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Josh Simpson, scoreless inning, but absolutely nothing doing for the Mariners at the plate. Not a lot doing for the San Francisco Giants as well, 5-4. They lose to the Walker Texas Rangers. For the Giants, Blade Tidwell in his first start since the trade deadline, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Jason Foley, a scoreless inning. JT Brubaker gets up a run in an inning. Revier St. Martin gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Adrian Hauser, he gets it out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Dylan Smith comes on in the 9th inning with the game tied 4-4. He gives up the walk-off winner as a ground rule double by Ezekiel Duran ends it. You had Mackenzie Gore not get gored. 6 shutout innings. Bullpen made a mess of things. Chase Silseth, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 inning as Olivier Bosby, 3rd home run season and his 3rd home run in the last 7 days. Robbie Elstrom from there, a scoreless inning. Peyton Gray, and out of the bullpen scoreless, Jacob Latz. He gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in the 9th inning, but still was able to get the job done. So hooray for that. And then to wrap up the night, it was the San Diego Padres all over the Arizona Diamondbacks, 9-4 for Randy Vasquez. How about a tremendous start from him? 6 shutout innings. From there, Herman Marquez gives up 4 runs in an inning and a pair of bombs. James McCann, 4th home run season. Nolan Arenado, his 16th, but Bradley Rodriguez comes in for a scoreless inning. Griffin Canning, he cleans up the 9th, and Eduardo Rodriguez, who's been overdue for regression, well, it comes here. 7 runs, 5 of which were earned in 5 2/3 innings. From there, Ryan Thompson gives up a run in a 1/3 of an inning. Paul Sewald, and Gerardo Carrillo were both able to give you a scoreless inning, and then Jonathan Loaizaga, he gives up a run in an inning as well. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, been a underwhelming recent stretch in Major League Baseball. The under rate is now hitting at about 50.8 or so percent, 817 overs, including the game out there in Arizona, 845 unders, and if that serves me correct, we've had 41 pushes. Favorites on the money line hitting at about 56.4%, 933 and 723, and among those 933 favorites, 230 have failed to cover the run line. Last 30 days in Major League Baseball, favorites hitting at nearly 58.5%, 203 and 145, but among those favorites, we have now seen 57 fail to cover the run line. The under rate is right around about 56.4%, 196 unders, 152 overs, and if my math serves me correct, once again, we've had like 10 pushes along the way, and over the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, under rate over 61%, 35 overs, 55 unders, and 3 pushes along the way, and favorites on the money line hitting at just above 62%, 58 and 35 on the money line, with 17 of them failing to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Jake Hasan over there at Better Day, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Jake Hasan aboard. He does such great work over with our good friend Kobe Marshall on Better Day. They host the show Off the Board. They do a tremendous job on that front. I know that Jake is doing a great job with his Substack, mainly taking a look at MLB baseball this time of year, but also still does a little bit of work with college baseball because, man, when it comes to college sports in general, there's no shortage of things to take a look at. On my end for college basketball, the 5-and-5 rule has been fascinating to say the least, so that's a big giant ball of wax. Jake does a great job in terms of deciphering all of that and so much more, and to be able to follow Jake on the old Twitter/X, that is at the Jake Hasan, last name is spelled Hasan, and Jake, always great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, Greg, happy to be here. We certainly have a lot to talk about here for the home stretch.
Oh, we certainly do. And just what did you make out of the trade deadline that we saw? Because I thought it was very wild what we saw. Maybe we didn't see any huge moves after the Tree-Skubal trade, but still, there were a lot of teams that bought, and there are a few teams I thought it was a little bit befuddling, like the Toronto Blue Jays picking up Jose Soriano.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, Greg. Like, this was one of the more fun trade deadlines to me in recent memory, at least, because there were some surprises, like you said, Jose Soriano being one. I, for one, was pretty flabbergasted by Adley Rutschman. I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. But I thought things started hot early in the morning with the Angels trading away Soriano and Joe Adell as well. But then weirdly standing pat on Zach Neto and Reed Detmers, although there was the one bombshell that ended up not being a bombshell about Detmers and the Cubs. It was pretty interesting. And I think we had pretty consistent action all throughout the day during the deadline day, where you had some teams like the White Sox make marginal moves, which I applauded them for. It's not time to go for it for them yet. You had the Rays add. You saw the Dodgers and the Giants and the Padres all make moves. And the Padres, of course, shocker, going for it. But I think there was a lot throughout the day and a lot to parse through. And a lot of it was really interesting.
Yep, it certainly was. And just who do you think was a team outside the Dodgers? Because I think that they were the big winners. Picking up Tree-Skubal, that's a no-duh one. But outside of the Dodgers, who did you think maybe had a really good trade deadline, or maybe a team or two that didn't have such a good trade deadline?
Yeah, I'm going to say this, Greg, that I thought the Rays had a good deadline, not just because, they missed out on Skubal, depending on who you believe and what you read, but the Rays really didn't need to do much. Would you have liked to see them take a swing for someone like Skubal or for maybe Adley Rutschman? Sure, but this is the Rays. We know how they operate. I actually really liked the move to bring in Liam Hicks from Miami. The Rays have a catching problem, and now Hicks, a guy who's in his second year, offers some left-handed balance to add to the big three of Junior Caminero, Jonathan Aranda, and Yandy Diaz. I like that for them. And listen, if there's going to be anybody that fixes Freddie Peralta, it's going to be the Rays, right? Like, this is a team that has turned Nick Martinez into a guy that's going to get Cy Young votes. So I liked what the Rays did. I think it firmly entrenched themselves as contenders, and probably, to me at least, as the team to beat in the American League. league. But we, of course, have to talk about Boston. They made the big splashy move for Adley Rutschman. So everybody's going to be talking about that for the next few years, not even just this year. So I think the Rays and the Red Sox stand out to me for sure, Greg.
Yep, the one thing that I will push back on for Freddie Peralta, the Rays are the second best team to fix him. Number one is the Milwaukee Brewers. Everybody knows who he is, and I thought that would have been great. And what did you think of the Brewers? Because they pick up Dustin May, but I argued that they needed a little bit more hitting, and they really didn't address that at the trade deadline, which had me a little bit off put.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Brewers, Greg, and I think I've said this to you. I've said it to other people, that this team, to me, pitching is never the issue. We know what they can do. We know the pitching is the strength. You have a freak of nature in Jacob Mizorowski, and you fill it out behind there, and we know that they'll probably get another gear out of Dustin May. But it's been the hitting in Milwaukee. That's always been their Achilles heel. It's that they don't have a true superstar in that lineup. Christian Yelich from 2017 ain't walking through that door. They have a bunch of nice guys who are all-star-ish caliber, and Contreras and Jackson Churio, but they don't have that true superstar who you definitely want up in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs and down a run. So I think they needed to make the move for a huge bat. And not that there were that many. Like, Rutschman was the biggest bat probably available, and people, I think, disagree and will argue with you about how much of a star he truly is. But the Brewers need hitting, and great, they made it a strength of further strength, and run prevention is clearly going to be their calling card. But I agree with you. It was a big miss for them to not add on offense.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you there. As we do have our good friend Jake Hasan, does great work over at Bettor J, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And how about if we do preview that Brewers game that we've got for Wednesday? Because for the Pirates, when Paul Skeens has been on the mound, I think that they're now 3-11 in his last 14 starts. Might be 3-10, but it's been atrocious. Right now, we're getting them at plus 110, plus 115 with the Brewers throwing out their Kyle Harrison. Totals between 7 and 7.5. And want to get your thoughts here because obviously Paul Skeens is a better pitcher than what the just win-loss record would indicate. At the same time, too, it is really becoming a trend with the Pirates, and that's a team that even though they pick up Camilo Duvall, really hard to trust in their bullpen and hard to trust in the fielding around Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I mean, am I crazy, Greg, to think that we're getting a little bit of hashtag value here on the Brewers, even at a slightly juicy number, just because they're so much better than the Pirates? They're just such a better team. I know I just ragged on their lineup, but even with Kyle Harrison on the bump, the Pirates are having a bunch of issues. Connor Griffin remains out. Shocker, as Merlin Valdez has kind of started to regress a little bit. So I think that, and you might even start to see a little bit right before game time, some steam because of the Skeens name brand. I think you might be able to get the Brewers at like minus 120, minus 125 if you wait. And granted, that's about 5 cents of the hashtag value that we're talking about here. But I think that this is a nice price on the Brewers, just considering the two opposite ends of the spectrum that these teams are on.
Yeah, minus 130 or better for me was a play for the Milwaukee Brewers, so I'm right there with you. I wouldn't want to lay like some sort of massive number with the Brewers. You don't want to do that against Paul Skeens, but I mean, getting a small number, absolutely. I'm in agreement with you there. And then this one I think is intriguing. It's been a no good, very bad, terrible season for Jameson Taillon. I don't think that I'm breaking news there, but he makes his debut here for the Blue Jays, going against Hunter Brown of the Astros. And I don't know if they just haven't adjusted the number because we were thinking that we would get Dylan Cease, but I'm seeing between 7.5 and 8 on the total. It's been an awful year for the Blue Jays lineup, but I think this could be finally a game where we get an over in a Blue Jays game because Jameson Taillon has just been that bad.
He's been absolutely atrocious, Greg. I think this is absolutely fire away on Astros team totals, on Astros first 5 team totals. I want nothing to do, and you mentioned it, I want nothing to do with the Blue Jays offense. I don't want to put any kind of faith in this team. If anything with the totals, it's only Astros based. I mean, Greg, we're sitting here, Dalton Varsho went from the Blue Jays. He did the Moneyball thing. He went through the tunnel to the other side of the stadium, to the other clubhouse. So, and the Astros are actually trying to make their lineup a little bit better. So it's only Astros overs for me. Jameson Taillon, Greg, I want to ask you something. Is Jameson Taillon the new age, new era Dallas Keuchel, where we're rubbing our hands waiting for him to sign on with somebody else?
It could be Patrick Corbin as well, because he's a guy that's currently on the Blue Jays and, hey, That's been great. Homer Bailey back in the day as well, if you remember that. Oh, man, that was great. There was that one year where I think that the Reds were like 2-20 in his starts, and it was like, yes, we've got Homer Bailey Day. So, absolutely, I'm right there with you. This is going to be a big fade of Jameson Dion. I'll be in on the Astros there. I'll take a full game over because I think that the Blue Jays can scratch across a few runs themselves, but absolutely, I think that this is a great spot in my opinion there. And we talked about the fact that Reed Detmers was not traded at the deadline. Interesting matchup here between the Angels and the Orioles with a total of 8.5, and the Orioles are minus 130, minus 135 favorite. And I bring this game up because I was doing some research post All-Star break. The Angels had scored 40 runs in their first 15 games since the All-Star break. They trade away Joe Adell and a few other bats, and this honestly feels like a good spot for the under just because with the Angels, they're not putting up any offense at all.
Yeah, and of course, then they trade away Joe Adell, who, even though he was streaky, was at least a power source. I think for me, this is just unders. I mean, Reed Detmer staying is a huge draw. And also for Rogers, this is a bounce back spot for him. He got absolutely shelled in his last start. So I think this is a bounce back spot for him against the bad Angels lineup where Zach Neto is doing all of the heavy lifting there by himself because Mike Trout is what he is at this point. And then it's an Orioles lineup that's been without still, but without Adley Rutschman, the vibes are down. This team just sold off a franchise cornerstone. So I think it's under City in Baltimore.
Yep, absolutely. I'm right there with you. And Reed Detmers has been much better than what the ERA would indicate. It's just the fact that, well, he's on the LA Angels right now. So that's a bit of an issue as Jake Hasan, he does such amazing work. Taking a look at this amazing game of baseball over there at Better Day and so much more. Joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And then I think this one is interesting between the Cardinals and the Yankees. Will Warren, we've been seeing some regression out of him recently. And for Andre Palante, he has not been getting a lot of strikeouts, but he's been a very serviceable pitcher. Right now, we're seeing the Cardinals plus 125, plus 135, total of 8.5. Want to get your thoughts here because it's a case of something's got to give with the Yankees. Really good with their overall pitching, really bad with their overall offense recently. And then on Monday, we saw 1 billion home runs.
Yeah, I think, Greg, I circled that Monday game. I was just going to bring that up because the Yankees had the lead. They threw the haymaker. They had the kill shot, and then they gave it right back. So this is a Yankees team that until Bellinger, until Judge are back, I'm not going to trust them. Great. Have fun with Heliot Ramos and Luis Garcia Jr. Sure, that'll fix things. I think this Cardinals team, even though they traded away a couple bullpen pieces, they traded away Lars Nootbaar. Was Lars Nootbaar really providing that much hashtag value for you? And no, Alec Burleson's not going to have another 3 home run game, but Jordan Walker's still there. You still have J.J. Weatherholt, who's the favorite for Rookie of the Year. You still have some nice pieces in that lineup. I'm willing to go with the Cardinals here as a big dog just because of the price.
Yep, and let me throw this out here as well, because we do see more demonstrative numbers with regards to money lines when it comes to this time of year after the trade deadline, and there's always like 1 or 2 of those young teams that provide value. Am I crazy to think that the Cardinals might be that team this year?
And not only that, it's that the Cardinals have the classic devil magic that we've all talked about for the last 25 years, right? Like that has to rear its head at some point. I don't know if it's the Cardinals just because I do think the pitching just is so flawed. Who do you look at in that rotation that you really like to win you a playoff game, let alone 2 of them? So for me, it's hard to get there with the Cardinals. Greg, it's hard to look around at these teams because it feels like we have such a schism here with the teams that are actually contenders and the teams that aren't. But I will say, I don't know if they count as a young team, but they have a young superstar who's in the MVP race. I think we should maybe keep an eye on the Cubs here. I really liked what they did at the deadline, getting Clay Holmes from the Mets. I know he's been injured, but it's not like it was an arm injury. The guy took a comebacker off the leg and it fractured his leg. Like it's not really his fault that he's been on the IL for the last couple of months, but he was pitching really well up until that point. Now he goes from a Mets team to a Cubs team that has the best infield defense in baseball and has Pete Crow Armstrong patrolling in center field out there. I think that's a really strong addition for them. I liked some of the bullpen ads that they made as well. So I think the Cubs, for me, Greg, are a team that I have circled as a team that could pop.
Yep, I do as well. I do think that they made some great moves at the deadline as well, so I'm in agreement there. And with regards to this card for Wednesday, I think we've got a great one. Some of these trade deadline acquisitions, we're going to be seeing them out there. Don't know who the Padres are going to be throwing quite yet. That one's going to be interesting, probably leaning towards Robbie Ray. But anything else that's really standing out on this Wednesday card?
I do think we're getting a little bit of a deal bringing them up again, the Red Sox. I know the White Sox are fun and plucky, and they've been one of the most profitable teams all year. But getting the Red Sox at home with Sonny Gray on the mound at about minus 115, Greg, I think that's a kind of a steal here, especially Sean Burke's a nice player, but I think there's a clear divide between him and Sonny Gray. And so even though I like the White Sox bringing in Brenton Doyle and trading for Husker Brasban, I still think that the Red Sox here are another team that, well, I mean, people have been talking about them for months, so it's kind of a little lame to say, oh, they're the team to watch. But I still think the Red Sox are a much better team here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought that this should have been closer to like a minus 130, minus 135. I'm seeing minus 115 myself, so I'm in agreement with you on that one. And I know you, Jake, are doing such an amazing job looking at this great game of baseball, both college and pro. You and Kobe Marcio do a great job with your show off the board over on Better Day and so much more. So love the good people at home. Know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, can also follow me on Twitter at the Jake Hasan, Hasan, Instagram Hasan_Jake. Everything gets posted there every single week. All of the shows, all the guest spots, everywhere we're at, we're just spreading the wealth, Greg.
Absolutely, and he is doing an absolutely amazing job of doing so with Jake. He's been dialed in on the baseball front all season long, and every single time he joins me, lends such great insight. So big thanks to Jake for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis of the game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by our guy, Jake Hasan, who does such great work over at Better Day. Does a great job with his Substack, taking a look at baseball, both college and pro, and so much more. So big thanks to Jake for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we do get things started? This is 901, 902 on the card. It is the Dodgers, and they are going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago Cubs. As Shota Imanaga is going to be going for the Cubs, and Eric Lauer is on the bump for the Dodgers. And the Dodgers do find themselves rarely as a slim underdog, but that's where they find themselves here. And we're between plus 106 to a plus 110. Minus 120 to minus 126 is that number on the Cubs. 9.5 is the total. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And if you're looking at the wind situation, should be blowing out a little bit, about like 5 miles per hour at the beginning of the game. Might be blowing inwards towards the end of it. So I did set my total here at a 9.3. I am going to be in on this total to the under, and recognize that for Shota Imanaga, he has been giving up a lot of the deep ball recently. Like, you look at the overall season numbers, and they're not atrocious. 3.67 ERA, feel they could depend more around about a 4.43, 1.7 home runs, 2 walks per 9 innings, but you look at what has happened recently, and he's just been giving the deep ball time and time again. I would say that this has really started mainly ever since late May, I think is the best way of being able to put it. If you look since May 18, so this is the span of his last 13 starts. He has given up 19 home runs in 73 and a third inning, so right around about 2.2 home runs per 9 innings in that time span. 4.66 ERA, 5.61 fielding independent. Not a place where you want to be. And on the flip side, Eric Lauer has certainly been giving up the deep ball as well. For Lauer, I know that his ERA has been lower since he got to the Dodgers. As a matter of fact, 2.96 ERA as a member of the Dodgers, but still a 5.13 fielding independent. Overall for the season, 2 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings, 5.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and do have a pair of very lethal offenses. Dodgers averaging nearly 5.8 runs per game away from home. That is number 1 in all baseball. Cubs overall second in baseball with about 5.1 runs per game. But again, the wind should be blowing in towards the end of this game, blowing out towards the beginning of it. So I'm going to be in on the under. And for the Dodgers, they do have the better bullpen, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be willing to side with them. Do recognize that Brock and Roll, Stewart, along with Will Klein are on the injury list, but now you're getting back Edwin Diaz, Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott. These have been guys being able to give you a sub-325 ERA, along with Edgardo Enriquez. Jack Dreyer's been relatively solid. We're going to see him as well. We'll see what you're able to get out of Chris with the K. Bubich if you get anything out of him at all. But I mean, overall, I do like the way that this team is fortified. And for the Chicago Cubs, they are dealing with so many bullpen injuries as well. You just look down the list as these guys like Riley Martin, Phil Matone, Hobie Milner are all dealing with injury. They pick up Ryan Zefrian at the trade deadline. That doesn't do much for me. Jacob Webb, Trent Thornton, Ryan Rolson, these guys have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, and obviously when it comes to lineup, Peter Armstrong has been amazing, 24 bombs. He's up to over a 380 on base. You've got Michael Busch, who really doesn't hit for a lot of average, but closer to 355 on base. A. Suzuki, 365 on base, 19 home runs. Even a guy like A. Michael Conforto, when he's been out there, has been able to move line with about a 325 on base, so he's been up and down recently. We have been noticing a lot of these bats be up and down, though. You've been able to have Pedro Ramirez now at a 300 for this team. Flip side for the Dodgers, you've got Shohei Ohtani dealing with that leg injury, but even with that 24-plus home runs, darn near 400 on base, Freddie Freeman has been hitting over a 300 as well. He's now been able to give you 15 home runs. Andy Paz, Max Muncy, combined 39 home runs. Both are doing a great job in terms of getting on base. And small sample size, but Tommy Edman, he's been able to hit about a 300 as well. I do think that for the Dodgers, with that bullpen, they do find a way to be able to get the job done here. I set them at a minus 102, so won't take pretty much any sort of plus money on that. I like the under. Somebody told 9.3. 903, 904 on the card. It is the Nationals. They are going to be on the road against the Phillies. Andrew Painter goes for the Phils. Jake Irvin is on the bump for the Nationals, and the Nationals do find themselves as a good-sized underdog between plus 135 to a plus 143. Meanwhile, minus 153 to minus 167 is that number on the Phils. 9.5 is the total. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. The under is between even and minus 105, and I do like the over. I saw by total 9.7. For Jake Irvin, the ERA is a little bit higher than the fielding independent, so I do think that there might be a little bit of positivity for him because he's getting strikeouts. He's getting about 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. This is also just his second start since the latter half of May. That's an issue, and he's been giving up 1.4 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, and had a 5.70 ERA last season, so hard to have a lot of faith in him. Andrew Painter, in his first start since coming back for the team after I think that he was demoted to the minors, I mean, he looked better. He gave up 2 runs in 6 innings against the Baltimore Orioles. 6.72 ERA, again, due for positivity with a 5.45 fielding independent, but even if that positivity hits, he's still giving up 1.9 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, and you do have a Phillies lineup that has been significantly better when they have been at home rather than away from home this season. For the Phillies, right now they are averaging when they're at home about like 4.8 runs per game. That's a top 10 mark in all of baseball. That goes down to 4 runs per game when they're away from home. And for the Nationals, this is a unit that is currently dealing with James Wood, who's been a little bit in and out of the lineup. We saw him deal with a little bit of injury yesterday, so that's a bit of an issue. But you still have C.J. Abrams, who post All-Star break actually leads the big leagues in terms of home runs. You still have Nasim Nunez, who's been able to give you 38 stolen bags. Need more of Andres Shapiro, Dylan Cruz. These guys have been a little bit disappointing, but it's still a good lineup. And then for the Philadelphia Phillies, Kyle Schwarber, he's been dealing with a little bit of issue being able to get the deep ball recently, but still, he's been able to give you 33 home runs, and he's up over 350 on base. Bryce Harper, 22 plus bombs, 360 on base. You now bring in Luis Rise, and that's big because you've had some of these guys like Alec Boehm, Gabriel Raconis, a lot of guys that just have not been able to produce a lot of offense thus far this season, but I do like Brandon Marsh. He's been hitting above a 280. He's been rock solid for this unit, and then when it comes to bullpen, both of these teams are a little bit shaky. Ryan Kirkering is starting to act up a little bit. Still has not been the world's worst, so it's sub 350 ERA. Yohan Duran has obviously been able to do a really good job for this team at the closer's role. Recognized that maybe about a week or two ago against the Marlins had a little bit of a rough go of it there, but do think that he's going to be able to go out there, hold down the fort. Now for the Philadelphia Phillies, they didn't make quantum moves for the bullpen, but they did bring in a guy or two like a Brooks Raley. That helps out along with Jonathan Bullen being able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And for the Washington Nationals, Brad Lord, PJ Poulin, 2 of your better relievers are currently on the injured list. Orlando Robalta, long clean beater, have been able to give you a sub 425 ERA. Tom Cosgrove has not been awful, but Carson Palmquist has been a big giant issue. They're relying upon Giovanni Cruz, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Philadelphia Phillies on the money line. Set them more in that neighborhood of a minus 157, so I'm willing to go to minus 156 there, and do like the over. Somebody told 9.7, 905, 906 on the card. It is the Marlins, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Atlanta Braves. As for the Braves, it is going to be Mr. Bryce Elder, hoping to not look elderly for them, and Eury Perez is on the bump for the Marlins. Marlins are a slim underdog between plus 108 to a plus 115, minus 125 to a minus 135 is that number on the Atlanta Braves. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5. Over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. Seeing a straight 9 out there, with the under being at a minus 120 and the over is even. And I mean, on the Braves, I said my line at a minus 138. For Eury Perez, the one thing that just really has me a little bit off put about him is the fact that his home and road splits for his career are very demonstrative. Now, he comes in really good form. You look at what he's been able to do over his last 8 starts. He has given up 8 earned runs, so I mean, he has really been rocking and rolling there. The strikeouts per 9 rate this year has been very good at 9.6 strikeouts per 9. He still does give up about 3.4 walks per 9, but all in all, it's been relatively good for him. Again, though, for his career, he's dominated at home, 2.75 ERA. At home, he gives up about 0.85 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, that goes up to north of 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, 4.42 ERA. And for Bryce Elder, it has been a little bit of a rough go of it for him over the last few months because he's not necessarily the biggest swing and miss guy for the season. 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.4 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings, but it does look like he's getting back into better form. He's given up 4 earned runs over the course of his last 3 starts. Has been a little bit lucky on the walks, but do have a Miami Marlins team that they've been having a rough go of it with regards to their offense. They're a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis, so you're not necessarily getting a lot of boom there for Miami. You've been able to get some relatively good production out of guys stealing bags, so that's going to be big moving forward. Xavier Edwards is a guy that's been able to give you over 350 on base. He, Asterio Ruiz, Jacob Marcy, they've all been able to give you 17 plus stolen bases. Now, they do trade away Liam Hicks. That was one of their main boom guys. You do have Roberto Hernandez, who's still been able to give you 15 plus home runs, and Joe Mack has been relatively solid at the catcher spot, but no doubt about it, they're a little bit gutted there. And for the Atlanta Braves, Drake Baldwin has just looked so much better ever since the All-Star break. He was dealing with a little bit of injury prior to that. He's now up to about a 360 on base, 20 plus home runs. You get back Ronald Acuna Jr., hasn't been himself this year, but coming off of injury, I think that there's some upside there. Ozzie Albies is now up to 19 home runs as he, Matt Olson, Dom Smith, lying between about 260 to a 270. Even Jim Jarvis has been pretty solid in terms of moving the line, and you just have a big divide between the bullpens as well. For the Miami Marlins, it's a case where they're dealing with Anthony Bender being on the injury list, Calvin Fauché, Pete Fairbanks. These guys are posting up an ERA well above a 4. Michael Peterson and John King have been solid, and Josh Eknes might have a little bit of upside, but it's been a very small sample size for him. But for the Atlanta Braves, this team is number 1 in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. I've been loving what I've been seeing out of the Dylans, Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, Raciel Iglesias has been able to post up a sub-3 ERA. Tyler Kinley has had his issues, but Didier Fuentes has been able to do a relatively solid job as well. So I do think that this is a good spot for the Braves, even though you might have a little bit of a disadvantage with Bryce Elder against Eury Perez. Somebody told it at 8.6. Personally, I would rather have a 9 under rather than an 8.5 to the over. Mostly seeing 8.5. So at this point, I'll probably be stuck with an 8.5. But if we get more 9s on the board, I would be taking the under. Like I said, at this point, I do have to take the 8.5 to the over. But that said, in on the Braves on the money line. 9-7, 9-8 on the card. It's the Milwaukee Brewers playing against the Pittsburgh Pirates as Paul Skeens is on the bump for the Buccos, and Kyle Harrison goes for Milwaukee. Milwaukee, a favorite here of anywhere between minus 125 to a minus 135, plus 110 to a plus 115 is that number on Pittsburgh. 7 to 7.5 is the total on the 7. Overs minus 115, unders minus 105 on the 7.5, unders minus 125, overs plus 105, and for the Brewers, I set them at a minus 130, so I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 129 with, again, with Paul Skeens. He's been still doing a nice job as a pitcher. I do believe that he's very much being hurt by the fact that, well, for lack of a better term, he's on the Pittsburgh Pirates right now, because right now his ERA is a 3.90. He's got a 291 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 11.3 strikeouts per 9, but you just take a look at what has been happening recently. The Pirates just have not been able to win a game to save their lives when he has been on the mound. You date it back to now May 17th, and what they have done in that time span, the team in his last 14 starts are 3-11. He in that time span giving up about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. He's still getting well over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, but man, that's a big giant issue you. Meanwhile, for Kyle Harrison, he has been rocking and rolling for the Brewers. Other than that one start they had out here in lovely Las Vegas, he's been tremendous. 300 runs for fewer now allowed in each out of his last 5 starts. He's been supplying a lot of swing and miss himself. 10.9 strikeouts, 2.2 walks per 9 innings, and this is a Brewers bullpen that has been one of the better ones in all baseball. I know that Aaron Ashby is starting to regress, but you've got Trevor McGill who's been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Grant Anderson has been rock solid. I like Chad Patrick as a long guy. They pick up Antonio Senzatella at the trade deadline. Jojo Romero dealing with a little bit of injury, but still, this team is 5th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. For the Pirates, they do pick up Camilo Udafal to help out that bullpen at the deadline, but still, they've been 22nd in terms of ERA. Dennis Santana has not been the same this year. It's been so bad that they had to just DFA Justin Lawrence. Evan Sisk, who's been one of their better relievers, he's currently on the injured list as well. And for the Pirates, this has been a very lethal offense. Top 4 team in terms of overall run creation. This despite the fact that they've dealt with the injury to Oniel Cruz for quite some time. Brandon Lau has been able to get loud, 22 plus home runs. You've got Jake Magnum, Nick Gonzalez sitting above a 300, and then Brian Reynolds gives you about a 380 on base. Esmeralda and Valdez, and he's starting to regress a little bit, but he and Eddie Rodriguez above a 370 on base. For Valdez, a home run every about 11 or so at bats. And then for the Brewers, just a whole bunch of guys that move line for the team, as you've been able to have Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Turang, Cooper Pratt, all be between about a 355 to a 375 on base. David Hamilton has been one of the better base stealers out there in the National League. Andrew Vaughn is starting near 300. Recognize that they're dealing with a few injuries, but Jake Bowers has maybe 19 plus home runs. So I do think that this is a great spot for the Brewers to be able to get the job done in a lower scoring game. I semi-total 7.3. Personally, I'd rather have a 7 over rather than a 7.5 under. I do think that the 7 is a good value there. So in on the over and the Brewers on the money line. 909, 910 on the betting board. It is the Slam Diego Padres, and they're going to be on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. We do know that Mitch Brad is going to be on the bump for Arizona. Right now, it's listed as to be determined for the San Diego Padres. The lone line that I'm seeing is over at FanDuel. It's a pick-up minus 108 on both sides. Total of 9.5. Unders minus 120. The over is even. I'm thinking either Robbie Ray or Casey Mize is going to be getting the start here, and if either of these trade deadline acquisition goes, I would be willing to take a shot here on the San Diego Padres. With it being Robbie Ray, I set it more around a minus 112. Casey Mize would probably be closer to about a minus 130, minus 135. Now, again, this is going to be subject to a little bit of change because they left me out in the dark a bit on this one. For Robbie Ray, he has been a guy that struggled away from San Francisco this year, so that does have to be a little bit of an issue, but still, he is pitching the best that he has all season long. 6 earned runs allowed over the course of his last 5 starts, giving up just 1 home run in that time span. Now, overall for the season, he has been a guy that has been giving up the deep ball. Home runs per at-bat has been a little bit higher, but still about 1.1 home runs, 4.2 walks allowed per 9 innings, and if you do get Casey Mize, he has been really good home and road, 270 ERA, 258 fielding dependent, half home run allowed per 9 innings, getting about 9 strikeouts per 9, so that has been tremendous. And you do have a bullpen here for the San Diego Padres that has been in the top 3 in the National League. You keep Mason Miller around. You've got Yuki Matsui, Adrian Morejon. These guys have been able to give you a sub 335 ERA. I've been liking what I've been seeing out of Wandy Peralta as well. They do get rid of Ron Mananaccio, but he was not doing a lot for the team in general. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, I just still don't trust in Paul Sewald. Sewald has been a guy that I just have not been able to get behind, but these guys like Braden Garcia, Taylor Clark, Ryan Thompson, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Gerald Carrillo has actually been very solid as well, but I mean, this is an Arizona Diamondbacks team that has been very average with regards to run production this year, about 12th in the league with about 4.5 runs per game. And for the San Diego Padres, low-key since the All-Star break, they have been one of the better teams in terms of run production in all of baseball, averaging nearly 4.6 runs per game away from them this season. Now, for the Padres, you're still not getting a ton of power out of the team. Manny Machado has been able to up that a little bit. For Machado, overall for the season, he's up to 23 home runs. Still, he, along with Freddie Fermin, Jake Cronenworth, Bowen in the outfield, Xander Bogaerts, a bunch of guys hitting at 225 or lower. Jackson Merrill's been much better recently. He and Ty France up to 16 home runs, and France about a 295 average, and then Fernando Tatis Jr., a few more bombs ever since the All-Star break. He's up to about a 350 or so on base. Flip side for the Arizona Diamondbacks, only 3 guys on the roster with over 9 home runs. Now, Geraldo Perdomo does have 9 home runs, and he's been able to give you an on-base percentage that's been right around about a 350. Corbin Carroll, 16 home runs, Owen Arenado, 15 home runs. Both of these guys hitting about a 245 with Carroll closer to about a 335, 340 on base. And then Ketel Marte, the Marte Parte, it's about a 250. He's up to 19 home runs. Max Kepler, he's been a little bit of an issue. They should be getting Lars Nootbaar in the lineup, so that helps out. Ryan Waldschmidt has been a guy that has been able to move the line, but I just don't have a lot of faith here in Mitch Brad either, because it's just been a very small sample size for him. Like, he was okay at the AAA level, but he hasn't been able to lend a lot of length. In his 5 starts, he's won 5 innings or fewer in every one of them. And I will say 3 earned runs or fewer in all but one of them, but 5.23 ERA, 677 fielding dependent, 6.5 walks, and 5.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. Just not a side that I want to put myself on. So whether you are getting Casey Mize or Robbie Ray, I'm going to be on the Padres on the money line. Like I said, we're on a -112 with Ray. If it's Casey Mize, closer to a -135. And with Robbie Ray versus Mitch Brett, I set my total at 9.2, so a 9 or less would be in on the over, 9.5 or higher to the under. If it's Casey Mize, then we go down to an 8.5 or less to the over, a 9 or higher to the under. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Blue Jays, and they're going to be on the road against the Astros, as Hunter Brown is going to be on the bump for the Astros, and you've got Mr. Jameson Taillon going for Toronto. Toronto is a underdog here between +115 to as high as +140, -125 to a -145 is that number on the Astros. 8 to 7.5 is the total on the 8, over and under between -105 to a -115, and on the 7.5, the over is -115, the under is -105, and I am all aboard the Houston Astros, and I'm going to be all aboard this over as well. So I did set my total here at an 8.3, and the Astros at a -155. Now for Hunter Brown, it has been an issue of walks this far this season for him. He has been giving up darn near 4.5 to 5 walks per 9 innings. As a matter of fact, I think he's up to 5.1 walks per 9 innings this season, but he has been able to keep the ball in the yard, 1 home run allowed per 9 innings. He is getting 9+ punch-outs per 9, and that helps out when you go up against a Blue Jays team that, out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball, they are 29th in terms of run production. They're averaging less than 4 runs per game, and really their lone form of power right now has been Kazuma Okamoto, who's been tremendous. He's been able to give you like 24 home runs this season. George Springer going into this series, the lone other guy with over 10 home runs. He's been able to give you 12 thus far this season. Now, you do have a guy like an Ernie Clement who's hitting about a 290. You've been able to have Nathan Lukes be able to move the line for you, but Flagger Jr., 6 home runs at about a 345 on base. You just expect way more there. They're getting back Jesus Sanchez. He's been able to about a 270, but these guys like Andres Jimenez, Miles Straw at the bottom of the fold, not give you too much. We'll see if Alejandro Kirk is able to have a nice second half of the season. Now for the Astros, a mix and match outfielders have not necessarily been great for this team. As you look at Bryce Matthews, who's currently on the injury list for the team, Cam Smith, Zach Cole, so many of these guys will not wait Jr. hitting at 225 or lower. Smith does have 13 home runs, but just not a lot of power out of these guys as well. But they do pick up Dalton Varsho, ironically enough, from the Blue Jays. That should be able to help out that outfield a little bit. Christian Walker not hitting for a ton of average, a lot of strikeouts, but 22 home runs. Yordan Alvarez continues to be incredible, over a 440 on base with 35 home runs. And then Isaac Paredes has been able to give you about a 350 on base, 15 bombs. He's a good pull hitter, so this ballpark is great for him. Jeremy Pena has been able to give you 13 home runs, and it's an Astros bullpen that since June 1st has a sub-3 ERA. That is third best in all of baseball. You've been having a little bit of issue with someone like a Brian King. He's been posting up an ERA that's a tad above a 350. Brian Abreu and Angel de los Santos overall for the season over a 385 ERA as well, but they've been much better recently. Steven Onkert, a sub-235 ERA. Bennett Sosa, since coming off the injury list, has been solid, and obviously Josh Hader has turned the fortunes of the team, and Blue Jays have been a top 12 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got 2 very good frontline relievers in Louis Varland along with Tyler Rogers. They've been able to give you a sub-225 ERA. Brandon Little has been absolutely awful this year, but I actually like Spencer Miles coming out of the bullpen. They've utilized him in a pretty nice bulk role, so I do feel relatively good about that, but I just can't back James Taillon here. He is giving up 3 home runs and 3.2 walks per 9 innings. Maybe a change of scenery is going to do him a little bit of good, but I don't want to be gambling on that. 592 ERA, 673 fielding dependent. So do like the over in this spot, and I'm willing to lay up to -154 on that money line of the Houston Astros. 913, 914 on the card. The Angels are going to be on the road against the Baltimore Orioles. Trevor Rogers is in the neighborhood for the Orioles. Reed Detmer is for the Angels. The Angels do find themselves between +116 to a +125. Meanwhile, -135 to a -142 is that number on Baltimore. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is -115. The under is -105 on the 8.5. Under is -115 to -120. Over is between even and -105. And semi-total at 8.3, mostly seeing 8.5. And I'm going to be in on the under in this ordeal. I'm actually willing to take a +122 122 or better here with the Angels on the money line. So I'm right now seeing a plus 125. I'm going to put myself on the side there, even though for the Angels they have scored 40 runs in their first 15 games since the All-Star break. That's pending the result from Tuesday. But for Reed Detmers, I just believe he's so much better than what the ERA would indicate. 4.03 ERA, 3.35 fielding independent, 1.1 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9 innings with about 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And Trevor Rogers, he had a just absolutely abysmal start to the season. He has been much better recently. The ERA is still 4.27, 3.56 though, fielding independent, because he's really not hurting himself. 2.6 walks, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's only getting in that neighborhood about 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. But you look at what he's been able to do recently, and it's been much better, because he had an ERA that was like a 6 for the longest time. It was just absolutely grody what we were seeing there. So you date it back since the beginning of the month of June, which is where I believe that he really started to have that turnaround in his last 10 starts. The team is 7-3. He in that time span at 2.21 ERA, 2.54 fielding independent. And for the Orioles, this has been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st. They do trade away Tyler Wells, so that is going to be hurting them a little bit. But you've got Uncle Rico Garcia along with Yanier Cano, who've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Ryan Wolfram still above a 4 ERA, but he's been able to do a little bit of better job for this team as well. They got a good start out of Cade Povich yesterday, so they were able to preserve some of those bullpen arms. Andrew Kitcher still right around about a 4 ERA, but considering where he was to begin the season, he's been much better. And then when you take a look at the lineup, still need a little bit more from some of these guys at the bottom. They pick up Carlos Narvaez, which that's not going to help out the catcher spot. As Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, even throwing their Gunnar Henderson. A lot of guys hitting a 225 or lower for this bunch. So I will say with Mayo and Henderson, both have been able to give you 13 plus home runs, so that helps out. Pete Alonso is up to 23 plus bombs, about a 350 on base. And Jackson Holliday, so I'll give you about a 350 on base. Flip side for the Angels, Mike Trout, Zach Neto, both of these guys between 17 to 19 home runs apiece. With Neto, really doesn't give you a lot of on base. Mike Trout gives you 390 on base, but only about a 246 batting average. Nolan Juneau continues to give you about a 345 on base, but no longer do you have Joe Adele setting fire to the rain. I do like the fact that they picked up Moises Ballesteros from the Cubs. I think that there's a little bit of upside there, and Wade Beckler has been able to about a 300, so I do think that there's a little bit of something to be had there. Now the Angels bullpen, shock, surprise, surprise, it's not amazing, but Jose Fermin has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Ben Joyce should be coming back for the team soon. Sammy Natero has been able to give you a sub 375 ERA, so at a plus 122 or better, I'm actually going to be in on the Angels on the money line, and with regards to this total, like the 8.5 under, so I told that at 8.3. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. You've got the White Sox, and they're going to be on the road against the Red Sox. In the Battle of Sox, it is going to be Sean Burke who's going to be going for the White Sox, and it is going to be one Mr. Sonny Gray who hopes to have a sunny day for the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox find themselves as a pretty slim favorite here, as you're going to be getting them between minus 115 to a minus 122. Minus 102 to as high as a plus 105 is that number on the White Sox. Right now seeing that total at an 8.5 over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I'm in on the Red Sox. I did set this money line price at a minus 133. Recognize that the Red Sox have been significantly worse at home rather than away from home, and we do see the offense really start to taper off for the Red Sox when they're at home. Now the splits are starting to iron themselves out a little bit here, but that's it for the Red Sox thus far this season. They have been a bunch that has been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home. 3.9 runs per game at home compared to about 4.65 runs per game away from home, and this has been a White Sox team that has been a top 10 team in terms of run creation all season long with about 4.8 runs per game. Sonny Gray actually seeing his lowest amount of strikeouts per 9 innings ever since the 2016 season, but still has been plenty effective. Might there be a little bit of regression on that 293 ERA? Probably, because he's got a 362 fielding independent. Again, 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1 home run, 2.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. That's been pretty presentable. And then when it comes to Sean Burke, he has really been able to do a nice job rounding into form and having better command this season. He's been posting up about 0.9 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9, 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, 304 ERA, about a 329 fielding dependent. So he has really been able to come into his own this season. And when it comes to Burke, he's actually got a 250 ERA when he's away from home, with closer to about 0.8, 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. That said, this has been a Boston Red Sox bullpen that's been a top 2 bunch in terms of ERA all season long. Likes of Teron Guerrero, Giovanni Morin, Garrett Woodlock, I'll give you a sub 325 ERA. And then obviously you've got Aroldis Chapman, who has been absolutely incredible for this team. And for the White Sox, they did have to go to that bullpen early and often yesterday. That's an issue. And you do have Eric Miller now in the Red Sox bullpen as well. For Wilson Contreras, he has been carrying the mail for the Red Sox on offense. He is now up to 23 plus home runs, give you over a 380 on base, and then just a lot of mix and match guys like Caleb Durbin, Weiler Abreu, Andrew Maristerio, between about a 315 to a 325 on base. Durbin has been much better here over the last few weeks, and for Ceddanne Rafaela, 7 home runs entering into yesterday since the All-Star break, a top 5 mark in all baseball. Masataka Yoshida, Connor Wong, about a 340 to a 345 on base. Flip side for the White Sox, it can be a little bit all or nothing, because while you've got Colson Montgomery, who's been able to give you a whole bunch of bombs, 24 plus home runs, he's only hitting for about a 215 with less than a 300 on base. They pick up Brenton Doyle. I don't know what that's going to be doing for them. Luan Acuna has been a really nice base stealer. Chase Meadroth gives you a 350 on base. A former Savannah Banana in Tristan Peters has been solid. Then Miguel Vargas, Montaka Murakami, 22 plus home runs apiece. Murakami to give you about a 375 on base. White Sox low-key have been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st as well. They pick up Oscar Brisbane at the trade deadline. You've got Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, Sean Newcomb. I'll give you a sub 350 ERA. And Trevor Richards has been solid out of that bullpen as well, but willing to trust in this Red Sox team at home. Set them at a minus 133, so in on the money line, and like the under semi-total at an 8.1, 917, 918 on the card. It is the Twins, and they're going to be on the road against the Kansas City Royals, as it is Dean Kramer making his debut for the Minnesota Twins, and Noah Cameron goes for the Royals. Total on this game is 9, over is minus 110 to a minus 115, under is minus 105 to a minus 110, and with the Royals, they are between minus 110 to a minus 115. Even money to minus 105 is that number on Minnesota, and I'm going to be in on the Royals on the money line. I did set this number at a minus 120, as I just really don't trust in Dean Kramer. Maybe a change of scenery is going to be able to do him a little bit of good, but he's never been a guy that I've necessarily been a stan of. As for Kramer, he's just given up way too much hard contact this season. The swing and miss stuff has actually been a little bit better this year than it has been in the past, but 650 ERA with 3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. I recognize that it's just a 7-start sample size, but still been a little bit disastrous there. He is getting 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, which helps, but man, hard to be able to trust in him, and especially after giving up 14 runs over his last 10 innings across 2 starts. Meanwhile, for Noah Cameron, I do believe that he's pitched better than what the ERA would indicate. Right now, he's applying a 4.59 ERA, close to a 3.88 fielding, depending on 1.1 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings, up to about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for the Twins, they're dealing with the injury to Byron Buxton, and that is the heart and soul of that lineup. Now, you do have Brooks Lee, who's been able to give you 15 plus home runs. Josh Bell is up to like 13 to 14 home runs, and both of these guys are doing a solid job of moving line, especially ever since the beginning of the month of June. Lucas Shaw has been able to give you about a 355 on base, and Ryan Jeffers, Trevor Larnach, pair of guys who've been able to give you over a 365 on base. That's been relatively solid, but Cody Clemens is still not a guy that moves the line, even though he does give you 19 home runs. Meanwhile, for the Royals, it's been royally bad. They're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. They are averaging darn near a run per game more at home rather than away from home, because the elements and just the ballpark factors moving in the fences helps out with that. They do get back Bobby Witt Jr., has been a base stealing machine. He, Carter Jensen, Jack Caglione have all been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, with Caglione doing a solid job, giving you between 17 and 18 home runs, depending upon what happens on Tuesday. You've been able to get a few other guys that have been able to move the line, like an Isaac Collins has been able to give you over 320 on base. It's still been hit or miss with regards to the bottom of the lineup. They've been dealing with the injury to Michael Massey. I know that Miguel Garcia has been in and out of the lineup as well, and really the big whammy that you need to avoid with this Royals team, man. Bullpen has been in the bottom 6 in terms of ERA, as you got these guys like Steven Cruz, Alex Lang, Lucas Ursage. You go down the list of guys that are supplying an ERA that's well above a 4.25 this season. They do pick up Nate Pearson, who I think has quite a bit of upside, so that should be able to help out a little bit. And for the Minnesota Twins, they themselves have been in the bottom 6 in terms of bullpen ERA. They did help themselves out at the trade deadline, picking up AJ Minter. It's solid. Jeff Hoffman doesn't sound great, but at the very least, it's an upgrade. Yandres Gomez, Andrew Morris have been solid, but these guys like Taylor Rogers, Travis Adams have been posting up ERAs well above 4 thus far this season. Again, is it a bullpen that's been improving a little bit? Sure, but when you've been throwing out their guys like Cody Lawyerson and company, you do have some issues there, and I just don't trust in Dean Kramer in this spot, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the money line. I did set it out of minus 120 with the Royals, and semi-total 9.1, so on the 9, I'm in on the over. You've got 919, 920 on the card. It is the Tigers. They're going to be playing on the road against the Seattle Mariners, as Brian Wu says woohoo to another start, and Drew Anderson gets a start for the Tigers. Tigers do find themselves as a pretty good-sized underdog here, as you're going to be finding them in that neighborhood about a plus 124. Meanwhile, minus 145 is what I'm seeing on Seattle. It is the total. Under is minus 112. The over is minus 108, and I set this more around a minus 190. I'm going to be in on the Seattle Mariners here. For Brian Wu, just such demonstrative home and road splits. A 2.20 home ERA and a 6.71 ERA away from him. It has been absolutely wild what we've been seeing out of him this far this season. And for Wu, if you do take a look at the overall season numbers, he should be doing for a lot of positivity. The fielding independent is a 3.20. Meanwhile, the ERA is more around about a 4.56. He's getting 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.9 walks per 9. And for Drew Anderson, I think that this is either going to be an opener or a piggyback situation because I'm anticipating us seeing quite a bit of Ty Madden. And if you do get Ty Madden, he has appeared in 11 games, only one of which has been an actual start, but he's been typically going out there for like 3-4 innings at a time, and he's actually been quite good for the Detroit Tigers. Right now, give you a 2.40 ERA, 3.06 fielding dependent, 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings in those 11 total appearances, 30 innings. So again, you're probably looking at 3 and maybe 4 innings if you're lucky out of him. And then Drew Anderson is a guy that's able to give you like 3 or 4 innings himself. He's went 63 and 2/3 innings across his appearances thus far this season, 40 in total. He's able to give you like 3 on a good day. He's been mostly going like a little bit over 1 inning, 4.24 ERA, 3.80 fielding dependent. And it is a Tigers team that if you look since June 1st, they have been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. The offense has actually been a little bit better recently. They're hovering right in that neighborhood, about 15th in the league in terms of run creation. Dylan Dingler has been able to lead the way with 23 home runs. Spencer Torkelson still not getting on base, but he does have 20 home runs this season. Likes of Kevin McGonigal, Gleyber Torres, Riley Green have all been able to give you at least a 360 on base, and they are getting back Javi Baez. Bottom lineup with the likes of Zach McKinstry, Matt Vierling. They have just not been great to say the least. I think that they offloaded Jake Rogers, so that actually helps you out. He was not doing anything at the catcher spot. Meanwhile, for the Seattle Mariners, it has been a lineup that has been quite rough. They've been a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation, but now all of a sudden you've got the likes of Julio Rodriguez, Colt Young, Randy Arozarena between 16 and 14 home runs apiece. Luke Raley as well, but he's been dealing with a little bit of injury. And with Arozarena, about a 375 on base. Sam Canzone is able to give you about a 340 on base. He leads away with 18 home runs. Bottom of the full, Cole Emerson hitting at 200 has been rough. And Cal Raleigh, he's hit a few home runs since the All-Star break, but still hitting a $162. You just expect more there. But for Taylor Ward, even though the power hasn't been this year necessarily there, but he's been able to give you over a 350 on base. And you do have a Mariners team that's been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They have dealt with the injuries to Matt Brass along with Cooper Criswell. They pick up Sir Anthony Dominguez. I don't know if that fortifies the bullpen too much, but Edward Bizzardo, Jose Ferrer, Gabe Spire, these have all been guys that have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Even Nick Davila has been relatively solid. Andres Munoz overall for the season as an ERA hovering right around about a 4, but over the last 30 days that's been sub 2. He's been looking a little bit better recently as well. The Tigers, they did sell off a few pieces, and again, it's going to be mix and match. I just trust in Brian Wu at home, so I like the under sum. I told 7.9. Set the Mariners at a minus 192, so I'm in on their money line. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Giants. They're going to be on the road against the Rangers, as right now you've got a game that in most places is off the board because right now it's reading Carson Weisenhunt for the Giants to be determined for the Rangers. Rangers opening up at FanDuel minus 190, plus 160 on the Giants. 8 is the total. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105, and it's anticipated to be Nathan Eovaldi for the Rangers. And if you do get Eovaldi, I'd be looking at up to a minus 182 on that money line. I'd be willing to take a plus 108 or better on that run line. That's plus 122. So if I had to play this right now, I'd be in on the run line. I'll be in on the Rangers in some form or capacity. I'm anticipating the run line, but we'll see once we get a few more fortified numbers for Nathan Eovaldi. The one issue that you've got with him is that he has been giving up the deep ball quite a bit. We saw that in his previous start overall for the season. I mean, the ERA, it's not awful. It's not great. Right around about a 431. The fielding dependent, it's more around about a 430. But again, getting back to the hard contact, 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, despite getting 9.5 strikeouts, 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. And Carson Weisenhunt has had a few cups of coffee at the big league level between last year and this year. A career 9 appearances, 5.74 ERA, 6.52 fielding dependent, 6.8 strikeouts, 5.1 walks per 9 innings. Just not a guy that you want to be backing. And for the Giants, they do give away a few pieces at the deadline, like Caleb Killian out of the bullpen. Now, they are starting to get some guys relatively healthy. Blade Tidwell actually gave them a little bit of length yesterday, so that's helpful because this is a bunch that has some of these mix and match guys like Revier, Sam Martin, Carson Seymour that I don't really trust them, but the front end guys, JT Brubaker, Keaton Wynn, Sam Entages, Dylan Smith, they've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. And for the Texas Rangers, since June 1st, they've been a bottom 10 team in terms of opening ERA. The Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, along Tyler Alexander, they've been your main guys, but Junis is on the injury list. They did pick up Chase Silseth at the trade deadline. Like him, he's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Peyton Gray has been relatively solid as well, and for the Rangers, they've really been able to elevate their offense ever since Wyatt Langford has gotten back into form, hitting above a 275 double-figure amount of homers. What you're going to be able to get out of Corey Seager for the rest of the year is TBD, because he just has not been himself this year. He has been posting up a batting average below the middle sign of 200. He has been able to give you double-figure amount of homers, but just a 300 on base. It's been Jock Peterson really carrying the mail for the team. He, along with Jake Berger, 17-plus home runs apiece. Peterson, 340 on base. Berger really doesn't give you a lot of on base, but Ezekiel Duran, Brandon Nimmo, Nicky Lopez, Langford, who I mentioned before. A lot of guys hitting between a 265 to a 275. Don't call his name Alejandro Ozuna has been able to move the line as well. And if you do indeed get Eovaldi versus Weisman, I'd be looking at the Rangers at a plus 110 or better on the run line. And then I did I told at an 8.3. So right now, seeing that total at an 8, I do like that to the over. 923, 924 on the card. It is the Rays. They're going to be on the road against the Rockies. Tomoyuki Sugano goes for the Rockies. Nick Martinez is on the bump for the Rays. Rays are between minus 145 to minus 157. Plus 130 to plus 135 is the number on Colorado. 11.5 is a total. Over and under are both at minus 110. And I set the Rays here on the money line at a minus 168. If you're looking to lay run half with the Rays, not going to find the world's greatest price. It's right around plus 102 to a minus 105, but I'm going to reduce the juice just because I do think that Tomoyuki Sugano, with how much contact he pitches to, I think that you might be in for an almighty slugfest. I mean, Nick Martinez is the exact same way. You look at Sugano right now, 447 ERA, but closer to a 539 fielding dependent, 1.8 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings, 5.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, and our good friend Nick Martinez is right in line with that. He does a much better job in terms of not allowing as much hard contact, as he's only giving up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, but 5 strikeouts per 9 innings. The Rays have the far better bullpen for the Rockies. They've been a bottom 2 team in terms of bullpen area in the National League, and now they trade away Antonio Senzatella. They give away, I believe, Victor Vodnik as well. These guys like Jimmy Carragher, Juan Mejia, Jaden Hill, they've all been posting up in the area above a 5. Brendan Bernardino has been relatively solid for the bullpen, but that's that. You really don't have much here. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, bullpen has been getting much better as the season has went along. Overall, about league average in terms of their ERA for the overall season, but they pick up Tyler Wells, Cam Boozer, Kevin Kelly, Brian Baker. They've been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Garrett Clevenger really has been able to round into form in the last few games as well. And then when it comes to this Rays lineup, Junior Caminero, 32-plus home runs. He, along with Andy Diaz, along with Jonathan Aranda, have all been able to give you at least a 365 on base. Diaz and Aranda hovering between about 14 to 15 home runs apiece. Chandler Simpson, one of the better base stealers in all baseball, hits darn near 300 as well. Liam Hicks should be able to fortify the catcher spot. He and Nick Fortes both hit above a 270. And for the Rockies, this is still a formidable lineup. They did trade away a few pieces at the deadline, but likes of Kyle Karros, Mickey Moniak, Willie Castro, in between about a 265 to a 277. And with Moniak, he's been able to give you 17-plus home runs. Cole Carey gets hitting above a 300. Hunter Goodman, 33 bombs. CJ Brownfield, give you a 375 on base. I do think they get quite a bit of scoring in this game, like the over. So I told 12.1. And for the Rays, I'm going to be willing to take the run line. I'm willing to go up to a minus 115 there. 975, 976 on the card. The Metropolitans are going to be on the road against the Guardians, as Tanner Bybee is on the bump for the Guardians, and one Mr. Noah McLean goes for the Mets. And the Mets find themselves as a very slim favorite here, as you're going to be laying minus 118 to minus 120 with them. Even money to plus 105 for Cleveland. 8 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8.5, under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. On the 8, over is minus 105. And the under is minus 105. I like the under. I set my total 7.6 for the Mets. They are dead last in the National League in terms of run creation away from home with about 3.8 runs per game. Guardians are averaging 3.9 runs per game overall. They're dead last in all of baseball with that regard. Now, for the Guardians, they do bring in a few reinforcements that should be able to help out the lineup, but still not feeling great about it. Joe Adell, he was able to have a pair of hits in his first game with the team, and he's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He automatically becomes the best home run hitter for the team because nobody else on the roster has more than 12. Stephen Kwan has been moving line, 360 on base. They bring in Nathaniel Lowe as well. Travis Bazzana, Austin Edges, Brian Rocchio between about a 323 to a 345 on base, but Rhys Hoskins hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Daniel Schneemann has not been able to give you too much. Kyle Manzardo, been a rough season for him, and for the Mets with having currently Juan Soto out of the fold, you don't have a single guy in the lineup that's giving you over 13 home runs. Carson Bench has been solid. He, Bo Bichette, Francisco Alvarez, I believe they all have a double-figure amount of homers, hitting between a 255 to a 265, but Marcus Semien has been miserable this year. Luis Robert is hitting below the Mendoza line 200. Luis Torrance is giving you nothing. AJ Ewan, about a 330 on base, but that's about it. And for the Mets, they've been a league average team with regards to bullpen area, but now they're looking to some untrustworthy guys. Dan Duarte has actually been very solid, but they used him up yesterday. Kodai Senga is coming out of that bullpen, and for McLean, he's going to have to do it all by himself. Now, for Noah McLean, he's been giving about 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. ERA is right around about a 3.30. The fielding dependent is right on line with that, and he's only giving up about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. And what I do like about him is that he's been able to do a better job away from home rather than at home this season as well. For Noah McLean, he's actually been getting lit up with a 4.19 ERA when he has been at home. Away from home, 3 home runs allowed at 59 innings. Meanwhile, for Tanner Bybee, he's always been better when he has been at home rather than away from home. I know that he's been giving up a little bit of hard contact this year with about 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's down to about 6.8 to 6.9 strikeouts per 9, so that's a career low from 381 ERA, closer to about a 450 fielding dependent, but is backed up by a bullpen that's in the upper half of the big leagues. In terms of ERA, Eric Zabrowski has been able to give you a sub 375 ERA, been able to get really good innings out of Hunter Gaddis recently. Kate Smith has been able to give you sub 325 ERA. You should be able to get some length moving forward out of some of these mix and match guys like a Matt Festa and company. So do like the Guardians on the money line here, set them at a -107, and like the under, semi-total 7.6, 977, 978 on the card. The Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They play also the Athletics as Jacob Lopez goes for the Athletics. Rhett Lauder looks to make some noise for the Reds, and the Reds do find themselves as a pretty good size favorite, -136 to a -145. Meanwhile, +116 to a +125. That number on the Athletics, 9.5 is a total. Over is -115 to -120. Under is between even and -105. Seeing a few stage 10s with the 10. Over is -120. The under is even, and I did make a total of a 9.4. I'm going to be in on the under for the Reds. They've actually really had a tough time in terms of scoring at home this season. Going into the day on Tuesday, they've been a bottom 6 team in terms of scoring at home, only averaging in the neighborhood about 4.05 runs per game, so that's been a little bit of an issue for them, but I do think that things are going to be getting a little bit better moving forward, even though they trade away Nathaniel Lowe. It is starting to get hot out there in Cincinnati, and they're going against an Athletics team that since June 1st has posted up an ERA above a 6.25. Hogan Harris, their most trustworthy reliever, was used for 24 pitches yesterday, 3.62 ERA. Brady Basso, Elvis Alvarado are both guys with over a 4.50 ERA. Jose Suarez has been terrible for this team. Luis Medina may not be the world's worst at a 3.91 with his ERA, but man, this is just a bad bullpen in general. And now they've got Nick Kurtz, Zach Aloff both on the injured list. Shea Langoliers is out. Jacob Wilson has been able to about a 275. And Tyler Soderstrom, since June 1st, nearly 4 on base. He's up to 16 plus home runs. Henry Bolte, though, has seen some progression. Lawrence Butler has not developed the way that they want to. Carlos Cortez about a 340 on base, but the Athletics, when they've been away from home, they've been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. Meanwhile, for the Cincinnati Reds, you do have Ellie De La Cruz, who's been carrying the mail, give you a 16 plus home runs, 355 on base. Cousin Sal Sura, 23 home runs. He hits about a 255. Tyler Stevenson now hitting above a 250, and Eugenio Suarez has had a season to forget, and then the likes of Cabrian Hayes, DJ Friedel, Matt McClain at the bottom of the fold, hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. For Rhett Lauder, he actually does an okay job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. The big thing is that he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, and he gives up a lot of walks. That's not necessarily the world's greatest combination. 5.42 ERA, 4.46 fielding dependent, 1.1 home runs per 9 innings allowed, but 4 walks, 7.6 punch-outs per 9. Now you do have Brock and Roll Burke along TJ Antone being able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA. Sam Moll has had some issues as far this season, though, and then when it comes to someone like an Emilio Pagan, that's a guy that's very hard to trust in my opinion, but Julian Garcia has been able to give you some good innings. You've got a few young guns that have been able to come up and have been relatively solid, and for Jacob Lopez, he was getting over 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings last year. That has just fallen straight down the toilet bowl this season, and he's always had some command issues. He was one like the only guys that pitched much better at home rather than away from home last season for the Athletics. 5.79 ERA, 5.51 fielding dependent, 7.8 strikeouts, 5.4 walks per 9 innings. So I think that the Reds get the job done here. Like them on the money line, set this at a -177, and like the under, semi-total 9.4, and wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. The Cardinals are going to be on the road against the Yankees. Will Warren goes for the Yanks. Andre 3000 Palante is on the bump for the Cardinals. Cardinals are between +128 to a +135, -145 to -155 for the Yankees. 8.5 is the total. Over is -120, and the under is even, and a semi-total at an 8.7. Right now we're seeing 8.5s and 9s. Personally, I would rather take a 9 under rather than an 8.5 over. I'm mostly seeing 8.5, so if I had to bet it right now, I'd be looking at an 8.5 just because that's what's available, but I'm hoping we get some 9s, and I would put myself on the under because for Andre Palante, he's actually been able to do a really presentable job. He's not lighting the world on fire with the strikeout stuff, but he's actually inducing some soft contact. Right now, he's giving up only about 2.6 walks per 9 innings. He's always had a little bit of a walks issue throughout his career. He's only giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, 3.72 ERA, 3.75 fielding, depending with his 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Will Warren, even though his ERA is relatively in line with what he does at home rather than away from home, his home runs per 9 rate significantly higher at home. 4.14 ERA. He gives up 1.2 home runs per 9 innings overall this season, up to about 900 strikeouts per 9 innings. But now does have to face off against Cardinals team that when they've been on the road this year, they've been a top 5 team in terms of run production with over 5.1 runs per contest. Got shut down yesterday, but Ivan Herrera, J.J. Weatherholt, along with Al Bergelson, all between about a 345 to a 360 on base. Nelson Velasquez is not giving you much, along with Pedro Paz, some of these guys at the bottom of the fold, but I really do like what Jordan Walker has been able to bring to the table. He's been able to give you 22 plus home runs. Now for Walker, he was out of the lineup yesterday, something that you do want to note. And then on the flip side, for the New York Yankees, you've been having some issues with regards to their offense, to say the least. Over the last 36 games, they're averaging fewer than 3.6 runs per game. Luis Garcia has already produced a home run for the team. He's been able to hit about a 285 going back to his time with the Nationals. But then you got the likes of Seth Jones, Trent Grisham, Ryan McMahon, Austin Wells, all these guys hitting at 215 or lower with not a ton of power. Jazz Chisholm, he's been able to give you 15 plus home runs, but he's hitting about a 220 himself. They actually had their young shortstop in Lombard Jr. hit his first career home run, so yay, barely there for the young 21-year-old. But I know that the Ben Rice, you haven't had a lot of reliability there. The forte of this Yankees team has been their bullpen. Top 4 team in terms of bullpen ERA. The likes of a Paul Blackburn, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hedrick, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. David Bednar has not pooped the Bednar this year. And for the Cardinals, it's been a little bit rough with regards to their bullpen. Vance Avancet has posted up well above a 4 ERA. It's still been a little bit of a difficult year for Ryan Stanek, but he's been able to do a little bit of a better job as well. Riley O'Brien, George Soriano, these guys have been relatively solid as well. But right now with Jordan Walker dealing with a little bit of an injury, I did have to downgrade the Cardinals a little bit in this spot, and that's why I'd rather take the under rather than the over in this spot. And for the New York Yankees, I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line in this ordeal. Set this out of minus 147, and if Walker's going to be out of the fold on Wednesday, probably would be willing to go up to closer to about a minus 155 or so, and then that would drop it to where the 8.5 I'd be in on the under as well. And that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to our guy Jake Hasan. He does such great work over at Better Day, along with his own Substack. He joins me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUNet_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day, give you picks and analysis on every game every day. So I'll be back with you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.